2023 Phillies, broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Team Toyota, BCWSA, Fogo de Show, Independence Blue Cross, and Capital Grill. Now, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Mickey Morandini.
Hey.
No, not Mickey. Not tonight. Not tonight. I told you.
I told you.
Yeah, well, I was also thrown off because that was in the original schedule, but it's Tommy Greene.
Well, Matt called me. He told me I was doing it.
Yeah, well, I was going by Tommy and Greg. I was going by the original schedule.
Yeah, it got changed,
which had
another
Mickey
time
for tonight.
Yeah.
So I called Mickey to remind him. I said, and we got Greg Gross as a guest.
Yeah.
And don't forget, it's 5:30 on Monday, September 4th. And then I went on the website to check to make sure that Greg Gross's photo was there. And they have a nice baseball card of Gigi. And it said Tommy Greene is the co-host. So I called Matt, who's a great guy.
Yeah.
And he works very hard. Got many, many shows besides this one to take care of.
Yeah.
I said, Matt, I called Mickey to remind him about the show. And on the website, I checked to make sure that Greg's photo was there, and it says Tommy Greene's the co-host. And he said, yeah, that's right. I said, oh, boy. Well, let me call Tommy, and I said I had to get back to Mickey. I said, Mickey, don't forget, Monday night, September 4th, Labor Day, 5:30, Greg. So anyway, so I called you, and I apologized.
And Matt had called me before you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like I was being traded again.
Oh, jeez. Well, folks, we welcome you to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. We have another great show. Wait till we tell you about Tommy's and my guest for tonight. And my goodness, am I blessed, because I have my wife, Kathy, here. I have my daughter, Courtney, my son-in-law, Yash, my grandson, Rio, who's 3 years old, who we're going to try to ask, Rio, we're going to ask you to be a part of the show tonight and make your television debut. You can come over here and under the table and just for a second say hello so our audience can see what a beautiful grandson I have. And my best friend, Roger Hendler, is here. And Roger, I have a presentation to make for you on the air. But first, I want to talk about Tommy Greene and Greg Gross.
You talk about Greg, man. He's the man.
No, well, let me tell you about Tommy Greene, ladies and gentlemen. Did you ever hear about those trades that include a player to be named later? We've made a lot of them over the years.
Yep.
Probably the best player to be named later in a trade that the Phillies have ever received is number 49, Tommy Greene.
Oh, man, you're killing me, Dan. You're killing me. You're making me feel young again with that voice. It makes me feel like I'm playing again.
Now, on August 3rd, 1990, the Phillies made a trade with the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves were looking for a closer. The Phillies had a very good one by the name of Jeff Parrott.
Yes.
So the Phillies traded Jeff Parrott to the Atlanta Braves for two-time NL MVP Dale Murphy.
How about that, boys?
And this is August 3rd, 1990.
With a bad knee.
And
a bad knee.
Dale Murphy was traded to the Phillies, and he had a couple of good years here, with a player to be named later. And Chris Irmer, 6 days later on August 9th, Wendy is here tonight, Wendy Greene. That player to be named later, Tommy Greene.
Yeah, how about that? Now, best thing that ever happened to me, Dan.
Oh.
Best thing that ever happened to me.
And it was a great. Now, here's the number. Here's a former first-round pick of the Atlanta Braves, 14th overall in the 1985 June Amateur Draft. His two best seasons, 1990 with the Phillies. Of course, most of Tommy's career spanned
Was with the Phillies.
9 years, 1989 to 1997. But his two best years were 1991, when he was 13-7, 207 and 2/3 innings pitched, a 3.38 earned run average. And then in 1993, a Phillies National League Championship year, they won the pennant. Tommy Greene, record 16-4, tied Kurt Schilling for the most wins by any Phillies pitcher that year, 16. Tommy had the better record, 16-4. That's a great winning percentage. 200 innings pitched in 1993 and a 3.42 earned run average. And we never want to let you forget, those of you watching at home and listening at home, Tommy Greene pitched a no-hitter for the Phillies on May 23rd, 1991 in Montreal, Canada against the Expos. So this guy has quite a pedigree. And then the great NLCS versus the Braves. We lost to the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series.
Yeah, we danced in the dance. We danced in the dance.
That's quite a resume. Ladies and gentlemen,
I appreciate it.
Bull Session co-host, number 49, Phillies pitcher Tommy Greene.
You make me blush, Dan. It's too much for me tonight. You make me blush.
Tommy, you did a lot.
I appreciate
for
you, man. Thank you.
Ball club. You're welcome. Now, not only do we have Tommy Greene, where do you hear this?
Yeah, this is the good one.
Our guest. His career spanned 1973 to 1989. He was drafted in the 4th round of the 1970 June amateur draft. He finished second to Rookie of the Year with the Houston Astros in 1974. Greg, 74? He was with the Astros from 1973 to 76, the Cubs 1977 to 78, the Phillies for 10 years, 1979 to 1988, and then back to the Astros to finish out your wonderful career. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how important a pinch hitter is?
Oh, I'll tell you what.
The best pinch hitter in Phillies history by far. Number 21, Greg Gross.
Yes, sir.
Now,
he was.
Just to give you an example, here are the top 4 pinch hitters in Phillies history by number of pinch hits. Greg Gross, 117. Tony Taylor in second place, a great pinch hitter. Career pinch hit for the Phillies, 54.
That's called getting it done.
Greg Gross had twice as much as any other pinch hitter in Phillies history.
He was a pitcher's nightmare.
Our number 3 pinch hitter in Phillies history, Tommy Hutton, 52. Boy, could he hit Tom Seaver. And 4th, Greg Dobbs, an important part of the 2008 Phillies World Series champions. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, would you please welcome our guest for tonight's Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, former Phillies outfielder, pinch hitter deluxe, number 21, Greg Gross.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Now, I'm sure you're aware of all, or are you not aware of those statistics?
Well, if you ask me now, they're even higher than they were before. The older I get, the better I was.
The old bass story, the old fish story, right?
Well,
I got some of them too.
Greg, let us start off with this. The first World Series the Phillies ever earned was not, the Phillies franchise started in 1883. Our first World Championship was 1980. It took us 97 years. Well, the World Series didn't start till like 1901 or so. So first 7 years, you can't blame anybody there. But in 1980, we'll never forget Tug McGraw jumping on the Mike Schmidt and all that. Well, I'm telling, without this guy, we might never get there. Do you remember that great National League Championship Series?
I was just getting ready to say something about that. That's probably the best series I'd ever seen. I was 13 years old watching it.
Yeah.
That was the best. I mean, night after night. It was the same thing. It was unbelievable. I've never seen games like that.
Practically every game decided by one run. Many of those in extra innings. And then the Phillies found themselves down by 5 to Hall of Fame pitcher Nolan Ryan.
How about that?
Our guest lays down a bunt. He was a great bunter. Boy, I don't think anybody can do it anymore.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask him.
Rojas and them. Hey, Greg Gross puts that bunt down there. Nolan runs over. There's nothing he can do with it. Stick it in his pocket. Greg, you've contributed so much. By the way, Greg Gross batted .750 in the Houston National League Championship Series, 3 for 4. He also batted awesome. .286 in the 1983 National League Championship Series versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. We beat the Royals to win the World Series in '80. We lost to the Orioles in '83. But Greg Gross is one of the few Phillies players to play in multiple World Series for the Phillies. So
that's a great achievement.
We owe you a lot, Greg Gross. And not only that, he was an outstanding batting coach for the Phillies. What years did you serve in that role, Greg?
2002, 2004, and then came back in 2010 for another through 2012.
Yeah, that's
what I
thought.
Of course, 2010 is the year that Roy Halladay came here.
Yeah.
And anyway.
That was a little more important.
You got to witness some of that, man, what he did. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I got to see that no-hitter.
You're talking about a very important part, Tommy Greene, of Phillies history with this man. And the head coach at Malvern with Ben Davis. Ben Davis, who does the color on our TV, the pre- and post-game show, and who thinks so highly of you, Greg, as we all do.
So you got to handle that big boy a little bit, huh?
Yeah, him.
He's a moose, man.
Yeah, that was some of the most fun that's when I started coaching. I think it was 3 years. I coached 3 years at Malvern before I got the Rockies job, and that was a lot of fun. Of course, I had Ben and his brother and a lot of top-notch talent, so it made it easy. But it was a lot of fun.
I think we lost Mr. Davis about a year ago or so, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And but those two brothers are very talented. And am I correct about this, Greg Gross? Now, Tommy was a first-round pick. Yeah. He was 14th.
Yeah. I was supposed to be 5th and go to Cincinnati, but they chose another guy by the name of Barry Larkin. So I was wondering why they did that. That was a pretty good choice right there. Well, you go back and look at that draft, Dan. You need to go look who was in that draft.
Well, tell us who else was in it.
You got Surhoff was the first player pick, and I'm trying to remember it in order, but the guys who were in it at the top were Will Clark, Bobby Witt, Barry Bonds, Pete Incaviglia, Rafael Palmeiro. Who am I missing? There's another couple guys, and I think Randy Johnson was in that draft, but he wasn't a first-round pick. There's some guys up in the top.
Well, let me say this.
It was right there, good draft. One of the best drafts you're going to see.
T to Green. And by the way, somebody please tell Baseball Reference they have your nickname in there as T the Green. T to T2 Greene.
T2 Greene, yeah.
They also had Jethro in there.
Yeah, Jethro. That's Leo Mazzoni.
Yeah.
He gave me that back in the day. And that was one of mine. The Braves people called me. It never really – the only person that called me Jethro a little bit was Dale Murphy when I come over. But the rest of them, Harry used to call me Tita. And Dutch would call me Tita, like TDA. And Chris Berman was the one that said T2 Greene. That was the nicknames he would give everybody.
Right.
That type of thing.
You guys watching or listening at home, I don't know. Do you realize how big Tommy Greene is?
Yeah, right.
Tommy, tell him your dimensions.
Oh, I know. My wife said she will.
Well, wait a minute.
Here we go.
Let's be careful.
Oh,
This is a kid's show too, right?
Yeah.
Here we go. Hey, Chris, we're right. It's time for a break.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us at Chickies and Pete's and on
Classic.
WBCB, 1490 AM, 107.3 FM. We'll be right back with the next segment of the full session after this.
Oh, my God.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's, and we are prouder than ever to partner with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chickie and Pete's has been named the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, and we continue to serve as the official caterer of both Eagles training camp and the official caterer of the First Trust Bank Club at Lincoln Financial Field. Go where the players go. The official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's.
I SEPTA Philly.
I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly.
I ride the Broad Street line. Do you know how expensive parking is?
I do not have time to deal with traffic.
Because it's better for the environment.
I ride SEPTA all the time.
Monday through Friday, and whenever game day is.
I'm out the door and at my stop by 7:30.
I catch up on work when I ride.
I check Twitter, text my buddies.
I watch sports highlights. Or lowlights.
For real Philly fans, SEPTA is the hometown way to go. Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Mickey Morandini.
I'm the biggest Morandini you ever seen.
Okay, we have Tommy Greene with us tonight. I'm lucky enough to have three co-hosts during this season. And, you know, as you guys all know here, Greg Luzinski was my co-host for 16 years. 16 great years. And I've been blessed to have Tommy Greene and Mickey Morandini and Gary Matthews rotating this year. Now, before we get back to the famous two-thirds of this radio crew, I'd like to invite over my grandson, Rio. My wife, Kathy, and I have two wonderful children, Darren and Courtney. Our daughter, Courtney's here tonight with her terrific husband, my son-in-law, Yash Nara. And Yash and Courtney's son is Rio Daniel Nara, after me. Rio, come on over here. We're going to put you on the TV if you're have more self-confidence. Rio.
It's the first time you've seen him shy right here, right?
Yeah, he's never shy. Come on over.
Come on, pal.
Come on TV with us. We'll have you say something. You want to do it? Come on over. You can come under the table. Pop will put you on TV. Chris Irmer will put you on TV, not me, but come on over. Come on.
Come on, pal. Show us your cards.
I acknowledged him last year when the Phillies. Come on over. Come here. We're gonna. Come on into here. He's got his Tesla with him. Come here. He's on the floor. Where are you, Rio?
He's sitting down.
Come here. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, folks. It takes too much of your time. Does he want to do it, Court, or not? Okay, all right.
He's being a little shy right now.
Then we're going to go on to. You don't want to come on?
They're so cute.
Not paying him enough.
Can't give me a kiss? Oh, he's such a handsome child.
Oh, he is. He's a good-looking boy, man.
He's such a beautiful blend of his mother and father. Oh, my God, I love him to death. Mom, and Pop, love you so much. Would you come on?
Oh, he wants to show us his car.
He's got a Tesla. He loves Teslas. We can't afford a Tesla, but he loves them.
Love the car.
Okay. All right. I got something else to show you. Now, I mentioned that my best friend is here tonight, Roger Hendler.
Yes.
Roger is on the board of directors with the Philadelphia Sports Writers Association. And last January, the sports writers honored me with their Most Courageous Award. I'm not so sure that I deserve it, but I'm very grateful for it. And here is the moment at which it occurred. This is Roger Hendler and MC Larry Litwin presenting me with the Philadelphia Sports Writers Association Most Courageous Award. So, Roger, this is the special present I told you I had for you, and I thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please salute Roger Hendler? Roger, here's a bag, and from my brother Rick, there's Philadelphia Daily News about the life of Wilt Chamberlain and 100 years of sports in Philadelphia.
That's awesome there.
And Roger, I thank you for your friendship and all the nice things you've done for me throughout these many years. Now, let's get back to the Independence Blue Cross Bull session. And by the way, Greg Gross and Tommy Greene have been kind enough to sign these autographs. After the show ends, they're going to stick around. Then it costs $500 an autograph. Did you know that?
Yes, sir.
And that goes directly to the signatories.
By the way, you can be my agent any day, pal.
Okay, I'm kidding with you. That's one of the benefits of attending the Independence Blue Cross Bull session. It's why, Tommy, that for years and years we have had a wonderful core of fan support.
Yes.
Anywhere from 12 to 24 people. Sean and Tara Steinbacher are here.
Yeah.
And we thank them, as well as Jack and Ellen Foreman and all the Flahertys. Sean's back. He's back from Vegas where he won the deadlift or whatever. I don't want to leave anybody out, but now, if my grandson feels better later, we're going to have you come on, okay? But Greg and Tommy, let's switch to the Phillies, who play at San Diego tonight and who right now have a 2-game lead over the Chicago Cubs for the NL wild card top spot. Now, it's the Phillies and Cubs, and then you have to, now you're 5.5 behind with the Giants and the Reds and the Diamondbacks and the Marlins. So, Tommy, what kind of shape do you think the Phillies are in to go to the postseason for 2023?
Well, to go to the postseason, I believe they're in pretty good shape, but you want to be that top dog in that as far as the wild card, I think. And they got some work to do. They got to clean up a couple things and get pointed in the right direction, I think.
Tommy,
but I think they're going to do that.
Tell our listeners and viewers why it's so important to have the top wild card position.
Well, I mean, obviously, the home field advantage as far as when you play those, I think, as far as that's concerned, is a huge thing. And they play. I mean, it's not anything new. You look at the standings and how they play at home and away, and you get a good reason. The fans.
May I embellish that for a moment? Ladies and gentlemen, if the Phillies finish as the top wild card, whoever is the top wild card hosts the second wild card in the best of 3 at their stadium.
Yeah.
So if the Phillies are number 1 and the Cubs are number 2, beginning on Tuesday, October 3rd, in the wild card series, the Phillies will host the Cubs right here at Citizens Bank Park. So
that's where you want it.
I think we're only going to need 2, folks, by the way, like we did last year when we beat the Cardinals in St. Louis. So anyway, I just wanted to add that.
That's what it is. What are you seeing, Greg, and just following them a little bit of late? Because they have woken up with the bats. I mean, they're doing the power kind of came.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that bothers me is you're still totally reliant on home runs, which they have hit a ton. Yeah. But there's still a ton of swing and miss things that's the kind of thing that concerns me going into a playoff situation where you're going to face their 1, 2, 3 top pitchers and things like that. Now they have shown signs that on occasion they do put balls in play, and I've been really impressed with Stott this year.
How about that, man?
Bone this year. Even Marsh,
the daycare.
For the most part.
The daycare.
Those 3 guys, the improvement that they have shown, especially with 2 strikes and things like that, is a big reason they are where they are. And if those 3 continue, especially at the bottom of the order, Turner now has sort of turned it around.
Righted the ship a little bit. Yeah.
And with him at the top of him and Schwarber at the top of the order, with the bottom of the order getting on base, it just makes them that much more dangerous.
Okay. And you've probably been asked this a million times. You mentioned the 2 top guys up at top, Schwarber and Turner. You being where you come from, the time and era you come from, and time where I kind of come from, everybody's asking the question about Schwarber leading off. Well, and I'm like, and I said, I know with me, he's not the prototypical leadoff guy. He can clog up the bases when he gets on. And he does get on. That's what people don't realize. Yeah, he strikes out a lot. I'd love to see that cut down, but he walks a lot. Yeah, he walks a lot, and he hits a lot of home runs. So what are your thoughts on a guy like that being where he's at?
Well, he leads off the game, that's it. He's usually not leading. It's only
after one
after
time.
that. And the game has changed. The emphasis on the home run, and if he can get you that quickman and put you ahead, I understand that's the thought process. Me personally, I like the speed of Turner.
Yeah.
But the way I look at Turner's also a guy that has the potential of hitting a home run.
Yeah.
And obviously his on-base percentage isn't near what it usually is this year. Yeah. He's starting to settle in. So probably right now Schwarber's probably the best option as far as getting on base to start a game. But after that, then he's really not a leadoff hitter. Yeah. So, ideally I would rather see, him up there, create havoc, start the game more often.
Yeah.
But when his on-base percentage is the same as almost what he's hitting, then I understand what Thompson's doing.
Yeah.
Because
after you give him credit,
Schwarber's on-base percentage is pretty good.
Yeah.
Even though he's only hitting $180, but his on-base percentage with walks and everything and the chance of hitting the ball out of the ballpark, giving you a lead, right now fits this lineup probably better.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Toppers, has handled, I don't even want to call it scrutiny because he gets asked all the time about that, and why he does that, and he says, especially when Schwarber's in a little bit of a down time. Right now he's in an upswing, and doing well, but I think he's handled it so well, and he stuck by his gun. He said, and basically what you said, he fits this where he's at for this team.
Yeah,
I think. And
I think
he says, and I like him there, and I have to give him kudos for that because he stuck by his gun with that. Because we got about, 3 or 4 million fans around here that are armchair coaches.
Well, I mean, it's always easier sitting. It's just like me sitting at home watching.
Yeah.
How do you keep swinging at that, or whatever? I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I mean, it's a lot easier watching. The only thing that surprises me about Schwarber is when I first saw him come up with the Cubs.
Yeah.
I mean, his contact rate and everything seemed to be so much better.
Yeah.
That, it wasn't just, let everything go. He was, he put more balls in play. He hit higher for average.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to hit more home runs when I first saw him, but I also thought he was going to hit 250 to 260 just because of his eye and the way he put the ball in play. And, I mean, he showed that 216 in the World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, he was out the whole year, and he comes back and gets base hits up the middle and things like that. That's what I thought I would see more of than what has transpired.
Yeah.
Greg and Tommy, we have to take our second commercial break, which means we're halfway through tonight's edition of the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. And by the way, haven't Tommy Greene and Greg Gross been terrific? I'm Dan Baker with Chris Ermer, also our producer. We'll be right back with the second half of tonight's Independence Blue Cross Bull Session.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB, Levittown, Fairless Hills, Trenton, and now heard as well on FM at 107.3 FM, W297CL, Levittown.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and we are prouder than ever to partner with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chicky and Pete's has been named the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, and we continue to serve as the official caterer of both Eagles training camp and the official caterer of the First Trust Bank Club at Lincoln Financial Field. Go where the players go. The official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's.
Close out your summer in style at Team Toyota during the national sales event. We have new Toyota inventory on the lot with no markups above MSRP. And with over 100 certified Toyotas available, you could find the right fit for your lifestyle or for your budget, with 20 used cars under $20,000. And our service and collision centers are high-tech, comfortable, and can save you time and money. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or shop or schedule online at teamtoyota.net.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker
and Phillies pitcher, former Phillies pitcher, no-hit pitcher, Tommy Greene.
Yeah, there you are. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Chris. Did you have something to do with that? Brooks did it, man. That was awesome.
Brooks St. Ives?
Yeah, Brooks.
The famous on-air talent at WBCB Radio?
The one and the same.
Wow. How old is Brooks now? 80 what? No, I'm kidding. No, Brooks, thank you.
That's Chris.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Brooks, thank
crazy.
you. Well, you know what? My daughter Courtney is the former news director, and she worked with Brooks St. Ives and was a big fan of his and a number of other wonderful hosts there. And we still can't get my grandson to come on, but listen, we've got Tommy Greene and Greg Gross, and we're talking Phillies baseball, and here we have another opportunity to go back into the postseason. You know, Greg, I mentioned at the outset in introducing you that you were fortunate enough to be one of the few Phillies players to play in 2 World Series for the Philadelphia Phillies. It's got to be exciting, isn't it, Greg, as you approach the end of the season with a chance to go all the way?
Well, yeah, that's what you're playing the season for. You know, you want to get to the postseason, you want to get to the World Series, you want to get a ring. I mean, they're all goals that you have.
Could you, ladies and gentlemen, here's the 1980 World Series championship ring, the first ever in Phillies history.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's what it's about.
Now here's the 2022
Look at that thing.
National League Championship.
I couldn't wear that.
I only know if I could pick up my arm wearing that.
Yeah, and anyway, that's what we're playing for.
Yeah.
And you know, it's now, Greg. Let me ask you also, if I may. A couple of weekends ago, Alumni Weekend, you and Tommy were a big part of the 30th anniversary celebration of the 1993 NL Champs and the 40th anniversary celebration of the 1983 Champs. So, Greg, could you tell us a little bit about that team and some of the teammates that you had a chance to revisit with on Alumni Weekend 2023?
That was awesome.
Well, it was an interesting season. I mean, we had 3 of the guys from the Big Red Machine. You know, Pete Rose, Tony Perez, and Joe Morgan were on the team. We had another Hall of Famer playing third, and Schmitty, Hall of Famer on the mound, and Steve Carlton. So, from that standpoint, even though it was an older team, and we struggled a lot during that season, but so did everybody else in the division. And those guys showed up, were sort of like reincarnated back to the mid-'70s because they took off. Tony Perez and Joe Morgan, the last 3 weeks of the season, were just phenomenal. I mean, Joe pretty much carried us, you know, to get us into the playoffs. And then once we got there, and that's what Pete always said, just get me to the playoffs and I'll get you to the series. and that was what he always said, and they did. The only difference we just sort of ran out of gas. You know, it was an older team, but I think as a whole, like a fan base and a club, we put so much emphasis on beating the Dodgers because they had this beat LA thing because of everything that had happened in the mid-'70s in the playoffs, that once we beat the Dodgers, there was as much noise in the vet the day that we beat them to go to the series as there was when we clinched the series against the Royals in Game 6. It was just as loud.
Just as loud.
And I think everybody was just so happy we beat the Dodgers that when we went into the series, we said, okay, they're a good team, good pitching. These are certain guys that, we can't let beat us. And we did that. It was just the other guys, the Rick Dempseys, the Rich Dowers, or the sort of, not that they were lesser players, but they didn't have the kind of years that Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray had, and things like that. We sort of kept them, except for the last game, kept them in check, but everybody else beat us. So that's just the way it was.
And that's a sign of a good team. To get there, as it takes the team to win it. And the bottom line, that's the way. You don't want those big dogs beating you. You make the other guys do it, and sometimes they do.
And they do.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Phillies record September of 1983, 22-7.
That's getting it
Greg,
done.
You steamrollered the National League. Like you said, Joe Morgan came to life after hitting, I think, under 200 for most of the year, and he lifted his average with a great September. And it was great to see. And Tony Perez. I got a little funny story, Tommy and Greg and Chris, for you. So my wife, Kathy, who's here tonight, and was a 10-year Phillies employee in sales and marketing. So we go down on one of the employee buses and to the old Memorial Stadium. You well remember it's the former home of the Baltimore Orioles. Now, we got stuck in traffic. So now we're trying to get to our seats, and the crowd is so thick, we're not moving at all, and we don't want to miss the Phillies' first at bat.
Yeah.
But we had crafty veteran Mage McDonald.
How about Mage? How about that?
A Phillies coach for the 1950 Whiz Kids, very close to Robin Roberts and Kurt Simmons and those great Phillies.
I can see him getting around and getting in through there, man.
So here's how he did it. So Mage says to the rest of the people, like, I'm looking like, oh, gosh, what the heck do we do now? I guess we're going to miss the first inning or two. Mage says, follow me. So we follow Mage. I think Kathy and I were maybe the next two after him. So what does Mage do? We had cups on the bus. Some people had a glass of wine. I don't want to say who.
Yeah.
Glass of soda, glass of water. And so now we get into the ballpark, and they're taking still had hardbound tickets in those days.
Yeah.
So now we start walking in, and there's all these people. What does Mage say? Hot coffee, look out! The crowd parted like the Red Sea. And we went right through, and we went to our section behind third base.
That's classic.
Watch the Phillies.
Hot coffee.
Win Game 1 when Gary Maddox, one of our former Bull Session guests, hits the home run, and we're off to a 1-0 lead, and I thought we were going to win it, but then we kind of cooled off, and of course, you mentioned the good pitching and Jim Palmer.
They did have a pretty good pitching staff back then.
They had a real good team.
And then the big crowds at the vet, Greg, amazing. And unfortunately, of course, we had Ivan De Jesus at shortstop, a real nice guy and a good player. Steve Carlton had a lead, a one-run lead in the 8th. He hits. But there were runners on first and second if the bases weren't loaded. And the batter hits now, by the way, we had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
The field was wet.
This is turf now. This is turf.
Game 3. Line drive, half hop. Ivan De Jesus moves over. The ball skids and goes under his glove. It was a dead double play ball.
Oh,
but,
man. You hate to see stuff like that, man.
What are you going to do? I will say this. Larry Boa would not have missed that. He was now with the Cubs.
Yep.
But and Ivan was a wonderful player who I like very, very much. I don't mean to knock Ivan, but of course Ivan wasn't as familiar with the Veteran Stadium turf as number 10.
No. I mean, get him to explain about the turf when it got wet. He can tell you. It's unbelievable.
It was miserable.
It was like playing on a hockey rink.
Yeah.
Now, am I misremembering
No,
Greg?
No, he misplayed. It just so happened, and we couldn't. They scored. I think they scored 2 runs that inning, and then we didn't come back. Jim Palmer came in relief. I think Jim threw like 4 shutout innings or something that day.
The game was played a little different back then.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the stadiums now, you never run into those kind of conditions, even if it was turf, because the turf is so much different now than it was. But some of the fields that we played on were ridiculous. Turf was the worst thing ever invented as far as the baseball is concerned.
But a lot of injuries.
It just happened, and then it was twice as bad when it got wet.
Folks, we have one more commercial break on tonight's Independence Blue Cross Bull session. Man, this line hasn't stopped as these wonderful fans at Chickies and Pete's at 15th and Packer have been getting autographs from Tommy Greene and Greg Gross. Folks, you'll be able to do that in just a second, because we're going to pause and then come back with the final segment for tonight's show on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. Thank you for being with us.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's, and we are prouder than ever to partner with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chickie and Pete's has been named the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, and we continue to serve as the official caterer of both Eagles training camp and the official caterer of the First Trust Bank Club at Lincoln Financial Field. Go where the players go. The official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's.
Close out your summer in style at Team Toyota during the national sales event. We have new Toyota inventory on the lot with no markups above MSRP. And with over 100 certified Toyotas available, you could find the right fit for your lifestyle or for your budget, with 20 used cars under $20,000. And our service and collision centers are high-tech, comfortable, and can save you time and money. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or shop or schedule online at teamtoyota.net.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker
and Tommy Greene.
How about that?
Special guest Greg Gross, the top pinch hitter in Phillies history. That's 141 years. And Greg was the best in 96 of them. No, he was
That's what
a
I
great
feel like.
That's what we feel like now.
Look how good he looks.
He does. He's in great shape.
Well, listen, every week on the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, we pick a Live Fearless Independence Blue Cross Phillies Player of the Week. Tommy, who have you selected this week?
Well, I tell you, this week it wasn't a hard case. The case was made pretty good, and that was our shortstop Trey Turner. He hit .423 for the week. He had 6 home runs, 14 RBIs. You know, you can't ask for any better than that. And what he's done, he's kind of turned this season around a little bit, playing with a lot of confidence, swinging with a lot of confidence at the plate. And it shows a little bit on the field too with the defense. That's the big thing with the premium position he's playing at shortstop. We got to have that. We got to make the routine play. So that's my guy for this week.
Okay, Trey Turner, the Phillies Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Phillies Player of the Week. And now Tom is going to take a look at the pitching matchup for tonight's Phillies-Padres game in San Diego.
Well, how about that, man? Tonight we have pitching for the Fighting Phils is Taijuan Walker. What a win-loss record. Man, you can't ask for any better what he's done this year. He's won 14 ball games, lost 5. You know, he's went through. What do you as a pinch hitter when you face somebody like him? I mean, he's a big boy, but he pitches a little bit different. He throws a lot of breaking stuff and a lot of off-speed stuff. You know, the challenge guys. Yeah, I mean that's the way he goes about it. But
I wish he would use his fastball more.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I think he would. It just seems like the starts that I've seen. It's not that he doesn't want to use it. It's just the command of it just isn't there. He's missing with it. So he goes to he goes to the well with the split.
Well, he
got a good one.
He's got a good one, but he's got a lot of different pitches too. I mean, that's what I've seen. But you know, as far as San Diego tonight, they got a crafty veteran that's been around for a long time pitching in big league baseball. Is Rich Hill, and you know, he hadn't had the type of year he wanted, but he's there, and you know he's capable of having a type of game because he's a pitcher. You know, and there's nothing like to see a guy, a little bit of a throwback that pitch. You know, he's a left-handed, don't throw hard, changes speeds, about command. You know, he's got a record of 7-13 this year with like a 5.3 ERA is what it's saying.
The thing that hurts him, he's one of those guys that the pitch clock hurts.
Yes.
Because he is that, like Tommy said, that crafty, you know, veteran, but he was like a human rain delay.
That's a head game. That's a head game.
And that's to get into hitters' heads. He'd run deep counts, but he'd walk around the mound. It looked like he was on his last leg and everything. Well, he can't do that this year because of the pitch clock.
As our special guest tonight, Tommy Greene's and my guest is Greg Gross, second in the National League Rookie of the Year voting in 1976 with Houston. A fine outfielder in his own right. The guy hardly ever struck out. Geez, everybody strikes out a lot these days.
How the game's changed.
And, but Greg, our producer, Chris Ermer, had a special request. He wanted us to review that NLCS rally that the Phillies put on in Houston against Nolan Ryan that you were such an important part of. Could you recreate that for us as you recall it and tell us what happened and who did what?
Okay. Boa was hitting 7th. He led off with a flare single, which over the years has turned into a line drive.
A rocket.
Rocket left center. Bob Boone was next. Bob Boone hit a bouncer that he said he hit really hard, and that's why Nolan Ryan couldn't catch it, but it went off Nolan Ryan's glove. If Nolan Ryan lets it go, it goes right to Craig Reynolds at shortstop for a 6-4-3 or 6 unassisted double play. So that put first and second, nobody out, and then I pinch hit for the pitcher coming up, and we're down 5-2. And
I said 5. I'm sorry. We were down 3 runs.
3 runs.
Thank you for
So we're down 3 runs. So I come up, and as I'm walking up to the plate, I see, I don't know why I even looked, but Enos Cabell was down there chirping with Lee Ely at third base.
Yeah.
Just jawing at him, and they always played me in. Third baseman always played me in.
Because they knew you might. You might square.
Well, anyway, when I got to the plate, Enos Cabell was behind the third base bag. Well, there's no way in the world I'm hitting a 3-run homer to tie it up. So my whole thought process is get on base, obviously.
How do you keep the train moving?
Keep the line moving. And I was notorious for taking the first pitch. And everybody knew that, And I think Nolan, in his mind, never had a chance to ask him, and probably wouldn't ask him.
You'd have to keep your distance.
Yeah. So anyway, I think he threw basically what amounted to a BP fastball first pitch just to get ahead, and it had to happen on that pitch.
At probably 95 or 6.
And so that's why I bunted. And then you also have to understand that in the Astrodome, the surface is flat, even though it was turf because it was inside. Every other stadium, the infields were crowned. So if you bunted the ball down the line, they just let it roll foul. Well, it would roll dead straight there. And it did. I got that pitch, the first pitch, bunted. That loaded the bases. Pete Rose got hit. That brought in a run. So we had first and second. Let's see. Keith Moreland, I think, was the next hitter. He hit a high bouncer that scored another run. And I was on third we had 1 out then. Smitty came up. Smitty struck out. Took a called third strike with the bases loaded, with a chance to tie the game.
And Philadelphia fans at home collectively went, oh.
Yeah. And then Del Unser came up.
How about him?
And
you got to speak about him. He was huge.
Yeah, and he got the base hit to over second to tie the game. I scored the tying run, and then Manny hit the ball into the corner that put us ahead. And then they came right back and scored to tie it up, and then we went into extra innings.
That was unbelievable. It was like the heavyweight champion fights, just throwing haymakers at each other at the end of the game. It was unbelievable watching that.
Chris Irmer, was that satisfactory? Look at the smile.
I think I remember most of it. I might got something that's not right.
Hey, fans.
That was pretty good.
All of these broadcasts are archived. If you'd like to hear Greg Gross review that sequence, by all means, go to the WBCB website, www.wbcb1490.com. For Greg Gross, Tommy Greene, Chris Irmer, I'm Dan Baker. See you next week on the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session.
Well done.
You've been listening to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Tonight's show is an exclusive presentation of 1490 WBCB.